Hello, good morning again. This is Myra Salpang Duncan, and I am doing the part two of the my video for the section 3.3 of our Dropbox assignment, which is on immigration. So part two is there's so many questions. Anyway, when I watched the video about the propaganda and also the video of George Takei, um, so there's like both views are there, like two different views of what really happened during the war between Japan and U.S. Um, anyway, I would like to question number one. So, what is your overall response to the role propaganda plays in shaping perspective about people from other cultures? Do you see evidence ethnic focused propaganda today? Um, I've heard the word propaganda even when I was a child during martial law in 1970, and they were talking about how bad the government is and how bad the ruler, Ferdinand Marcos, the president, and the role of the military, um, you know, in the martial law, and a lot of the propaganda that was being fed to people. Basically, propaganda is sugarcoating, romanticizing. Um, um, there's a hidden agenda of it is it is deceiving people. It is one-sided, and it's half truth, and it is focused on one individual or group um, um, benefit, and it doesn't serve the 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 whole the community or the people, and that's one thing that it's kind of like what Adichie was talking about is the danger of a single story, and it's kind of like a propaganda that once somebody told you that this is how people are living and how they do things, that's your only way of knowing those people, and because you've heard it in the news, because you've seen it on TV, like what they're doing. The Hollywood has a big part of the propaganda trying to romanticize the war, and then the what's happening between the U.S. government and the Japan government. Um, People begin to really um, see that. I think what's happening is they're making it worse. What people are seeing is, like I said, it's not the whole truth. It's half truth. It's one-sided, and that's what when we talk about, like when we talk about other cultures, like we only see Africa as a poor nation, or all the people, or the African peoples are malnourished or undernourished, because that's what we see on TV all the time. But that's not the whole truth. Or every time you go to a place in Middle East, you can't go there because it's always the war is always there, and it's not safe. And actually, somebody from my church was so interested about the Philippines, and he was actually told me that he wanted to visit the Philippines, but he doesn't want to go because a friend of him who's actually from the Philippines, told him that it is not safe to go to the Philippines. And maybe because he was from the place where it was not safe, and because that was his experience. But if you ask me, I came from Manila, and there are some times that maybe you'll not say, but overall, I mean, it is safe. I mean, it's not like there's people are marching with guns and on the place. So what I'm saying is, the view of of when the propaganda shape our perspective about people of other cultures, and then when it was being broadcast on the news, on the newspaper, and that's what we're only seeing, it becomes it becomes their identity. And because there is power on that, on propaganda, and so our focus was on what's on the news, and what they're saying, and without even going deeper and looking into it, that maybe what they're saying is not the truth, or not. um do you see evidence of ethnic focused propaganda? Why? um I think the only thing that I see is, and I don't mean to be racist, and or uh, I think that, when Black Lives Matter came about, and it's on the news every time. It's like the focus of um, um, that there was like a war between white people and black people. And I think it's a propaganda wise, that um that saying um that white people are always discriminating black people, and that all whites are hateful of black people, and which is not the case. And the thing is, when they say Black Lives Matter, they're actually, and I'm not against of what they believe in. I just didn't. What I think is, I just didn't like that it's kind of like exclusive to just black. To me, all lives matter. All lives matter. It's not. I mean, they matter because, not because they're black, or they matter because, not because they're white or yellow, or red. It should matter because all lives matter. And I think that's kind of I would say that it's kind of really uh, s- uh, s- getting so much attention. And like some people say, you see white people being brutally killed, or tortured by the same white people. you don't they don't they don't seem to care about that news, or stimulate anger and things like that. But um, I think what I'm trying to say is, sometimes when we try to promote something, but we are promoting something at the expense of others, it is a propaganda. Okay. Anyway, question number 2. In segment 17 of Propaganda Wars, the narrator of the U.S. government documentary closes with these words: "We are setting a standard for the treatment of people who may have loyalties to an enemy nation. We are protecting ourselves without violating the principles of Christian decency. What is your reaction to that statement? Uh, Honestly, what kind of decency is that narrator talking about? Because there is no decency in in people, um, treating people even if they were your enemies at that way. So I don't I don't know what he is talking about. The thing is, he talking. You know what happened is they talk about the worst side of the enemy, and then they present it as the character, um, true character of the enemy. And so if you if because those people who were Japanese, because they were Japanese, and the Greeks, they were born Japanese even though they're now immigrants in the United States. They they are still considered as an enemy, and to protect our our to protect our Christian decency, and not to violate our principle, we have to put them in. We have to show. We have to show them and set a standard to treat people of who have loyalties toward the enemy nation. So I just feel um, like I said, I don't know what kind of decency are they setting and Christian values that they are setting, because putting people into a camp, taking away their properties and forcing them to leave their home is not a Christian way, and it's not decent. Question number 3: what are your reaction overall message conveyed by the U.S. government through its explanation for forcing Japanese Americans to internment camps? Like I said, there is um I think uh you know, during after the even the war is out, even the war is broken up, America was still you know uh, uh, nervous about the threat and the possibility of people you know steering up another or you know revolution, even though the war is broken, and so they have to gain control, and then they have to really like you know uh, to make people see who is in power over here. And so that's why they had to force people to be in an intern to go to an internment camps and force them to do that. I and like I said a while ago, I don't um the thing is with me is that you know I just can see the reaction of you know the kids, the you know the children being you know in the questions in their mind, the trauma that they experience, you know, and thinking about what is happening. It hasn't had no idea as of what's going on, and they are just following and doing what their parents are telling them to do. And so I think um, I think that was really unnecessary, unnecessary and inhumane. It's just like forcing people to to leave their own their own home and be confined in a camp, like the other narrator says, a concentration camp, because and people watching you. It's something. I mean, I've never been into a situation like that, but um, I could just think about the trauma of what the children experienced that time. So, what are your reaction hearing about the same historic event, the Japanese internment camp experience, from the perspective of George Takei? Um, I think like I said, there's always another side of the story, and what he was saying is that um, the he was saying that the the Japanese, I mean the Americans are was so hard on them, even though they are immigrants already in America, but because they are Japanese, so it was harder for them to be naturalized. And the thing that's really what he said is about those questionnaires, and he said that to profess your loyalty to the United States, you have to answer two questions, and those two questions, according to George Takei, are actually tricky questions, because uh, like his example, he gave his examples about because the question number 27 is that, will you bear arms for United States? And then the second one is, will you swear your loyalty and denounce your loyalty um, towards the emperor? And his parents both says no, because they said that um, those those questions are presumptuous, that because they are Japanese, they they are still loyal to the emperor, but they have loyalties to the emperor. Plus, on George Takei's mom, she will not answer no. She will not be subjected to these questions just because you know uh, she would want to be subjected to this question just because, so that they could hear what they want to hear. But he said no. They both said no and stood their ground and said no, because they can't really do it. Like her mom, she said she has three kids. Well, how can she bear arms? And she has three kids. And the dad, you know, he said that he's not gonna swear loyalty to the U.S. Um, because even though they are Japanese, it doesn't mean that they have loyalties to that, that they have loyalty to the emperor. Anyway, so um, and so that's why he said that because of that, they were classified as 4C, 4C alien, and then they were moved to a different camp who has three barbed wire fences, more barbed wire fences, and he said that in those camps there were more uh, turmoil that he experienced. So um, I think what he was trying to say is um, the internment camps was really was not was unnecessary, and those questionnaire was not necessary because they are already immigrants, and they're already here in the United States. But because of their association, because they were Japanese, they they are they're already stereotyped as being loyal to the enemy. Question number 5: if you were to engage in some type of ongoing cultural cross-cultural ministry with the Japanese Americans upon their release from the internment camps, what would that ministry be? And what first step would you take to begin? This is really a hard question because um, my answer was to do a healing ministry, not not healing, not healing like uh, spiritual healing, but healing ministry towards emotions and anger management and probably um, um, kind of like um, a, a class where they could especially to the kids, to the children, where they could release their anger through through arts, through drawing, and to um, and in that way they could release their trauma, and they could share what their feelings and stuff like that. Um, that's I think that's one thing that I could do. I did that. Um, I did one of that. I forget what we call it, but I went to we there were kids who are victim of militarization in the Philippines, and their parents were you know were some of them were tortured and some of them were killed. And so what we do is we take those kids and put them in a in one it's like a camp, and put them in a camp, and then try to debrief them, and then um, uh, ask them about their experiences, and then they talk about um, what happened, and then they draw it. They try to act it in front of people, and so it's kind of way of a releasing their angers and stuff towards and with what they experience. So that's what I think. That's what one thing that I could do, and my focus will be on children, because that's kind of like my um, my focus. And I think cause there's more emotional baggage and trauma with children, and it needed to be deal with while they were still young, and process it so that uh, they don't harness that anger, and that, because when you harness that anger, it could it could it I mean, it could cause more distraction than you know so that's one thing that I could do. Sorry it's taking so long. Sorry, because I talk so much, and I stop all the time, so that's why it's taking so long. But anyway, I hope that you guys understand what I was saying, and that you get any something from my video. See you guys later. Bye bye.